Let's get some energy! Love it! Okay, can I be real? Yes? Good. Okay, this is the first time I've been on a stage of this size for about 6 years. Okay, so can you work with me today? Yes? Amazing. Before I begin, I just want to say thank you so much to Matt and Marcus for having me here. I am truly honoured to be on this stage and to be with such incredible speakers and leaders. And to put on an event like this, it's not just Matt and Marcus, they're the front runners. There is a whole team behind them right now. So I just want us all to stand up and give a massive round of applause for the EMC2023 team. Come on. Amazing. Look at all the value that we've all been able to take away and all the connections that we've been able to make today. I don't know about you, but I believe in the power of human connection, right? And how many of you have made some amazing connections just being here for a day or 3? Put our hands up. Amazing. That's what it's about. And I want to thank Dan Jukes, actually. I don't know where he is, if he's in the room, but I wouldn't be on the stage today if it wasn't for that relationship. Dan and I used to be in business together 6 years ago. The power of relationships always takes you to your next stage. And it wouldn't be an event, it wouldn't be EMC if all of you weren't in the room. So before we begin today, can you give yourselves a massive round of applause for being in this room today? Amazing. So we've established I'm going to get real. Yeah? Do I have your mission to get really, really real? Yes? Okay, good. So I don't know about you, but when I'm at these conferences, my mind gets boggled with the amount of information and knowledge that there is. It is all such good stuff. I mean, Jazz, I wish I was in the crowd writing down what you just had to share. I think knowledge is incredible, and I do believe that we can learn a lot from the stories of each other's lives. So if it's okay with you today, I would like to tell you some stories to illustrate the currency of connection. So can I tell you some stories today? Yes. Okay, great. So let's get real. I wasn't at the party last night, at the after party. I'll be completely real, okay? I had a tiny bit of a sickness bug. It was my nephew's birthday at the weekend, so I thought I'd get an early night. I went to bed about 9:30. I know. How was the after party? Anyone there? Anyone say it was good? Yeah? Anyone struggling a little bit today? Have a few too many drinks? Come on, we said we're going to get real, right? Well, it's 2:30 in the afternoon on the last day of EMC. So I don't know about you, but the question that is on my lips, and I'm sure it's on your lips, is who is getting the shots in? I mean, you were all thinking that, weren't you? Shots, right? I don't know about you, but someone in this crowd, don't make me pick you. There is a tray of shots down here. Someone's going to come and get the shots in. Who's coming? Don't make me pick you. I'm being serious. Right down here. Are you coming forward? Come on and get the shots in and take them back to your crowd. I'm being serious. There's a tray down here. Woo! Everybody! Get them all! Take them all! Get the whole tray! That's it. Take it all down. Take it all down. Love it. I'll have you know they're not alcoholic. Don't worry. There's just a bit of natural energy drink in there. But if we need any questions answered, we're going to head over there to that corner, right? So why have I got shots out? Am I speaking to you about tequila and sambuca today? Unfortunately not. That can be a talk for afterwards. But my main company is a company called Phoenix Staffing. Have any of you heard of Phoenix Staffing? Maybe a few loyal fans in the back. Probably most of you not. We are a B2B business. So I've owned Phoenix Staffing for 15 years, and I started my entrepreneurial journey as a shot girl. We are the original hustlers, I tell you. Anyone wants to know about business and connection and really getting deep with people, talk to a shot girl. Okay, we've heard every story under the sun. But these are some shots from, some pictures from some of the incredible people that work work with me. So I set up a company 15 years ago when I was studying at university and I was working as a shop girl at night. I bootstrapped that business. Do you know what that means? That means we grafted, okay? I worked every night that you can imagine and took that money and funded it back into the business during the day. We are now one of the leading providers in what we do in the UK. We provide thousands of contractors with work, including bar work, front of house, entertainment, shop girls. We've worked with hundreds of clients on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis. I love what we get to do. In our office, there are 22 incredible, kick-ass driven women, I have you know. We have an office team of all women, which is super fun. And we just have so much fun. It's really what business should be about. If you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. Would you agree? Yes. Good. Okay. So what do I do today? I don't sell shots anymore. I gave it up a few years ago. Sadly, I loved it so much. But what I do today is I work with business leaders. I am a consultant. I have a podcast. I speak in schools. As I said, I haven't spoken on the stage for a while. And I work a lot in human rights and women's rights empowerment as well. So today, what am I going to speak to you about? The currency of connection. May we slow down. May we stop chasing, and may we start connecting. Now, I can't talk to you about AI. I can't talk to you about softwares and hacks. My business has been built by face-to-face human connection, and it continues to be to this day. I love to get into the depths of people's lives, understand what's really going on, and do business that way. Hand to hand, eye to eye. So, if there are 3 things that I want you to take away today, I'm not going to ask you to write down everything I say. I talk quite a lot and I'm going to tell a lot of stories. But if you would, write these 3 things down. I'm going to ask that you ask more questions. Don't believe everything you've been told today, or yesterday, or the day before, or any day for that matter. I'm going to ask that you think more critically. And I'm going to ask that you feel more intuitively and act in wisdom. So let me ask you some questions today, if I may. What is the point in us making more money? What is the point in us having more turnover, in us being more profitable? What is the point in us having bigger, more audacious dreams or goals if no one who truly cares about you is beside you? Do you know who your people are? Has that been tested? Do you know who your tribe are? Where is your value? The currency of connection. Have you ever heard of the term cathedral thinking? Well, I was taught this last year by a dear friend and mentor of mine, and it stuck with me ever since. He said, imagine if you were that person who spent your whole life building that small little pillar in the cathedral. You never got to see the end of it. It was completed way after the end of your life. Do we act like that anymore? Are we all in for the quick fix and the quick gain? Are we willing to build something with longevity and foresight and actually not even know what it's going to look like at the end of our lifetime? Legacy. What does that mean to you? So let me ask you now, what do we need to do to create organizations and businesses and impact where we don't just treat people like another number? Have you ever been treated like a number, just another follower, a nameless, faceless person? What did that feel like? What can we do and what should we be doing to change that? Okay, so I'm going to take us through a little exercise right now. Now, if you're anything like me at these conferences, let's be real. How many of us say that we're quite rebellious? Come on, we're on entrepreneurs. We should all be putting our hands up. We don't like following the rules, do we? And I definitely don't. And so whenever I'm asked to do an exercise at these conferences, I promise you that inner rebel comes out kicking and screaming even louder. So, hello, rebels. Okay, I'm talking to you now, the inner rebels inside. I welcome you. And I'm going to ask you to play a little game with me, okay? For the next minute, I'm going to ask you to do something that might be a little bit uncomfortable. Would you please find someone in the audience, preferably someone who is quite close to you, but that you don't know? Although I don't want to take it to take too long, so if you know them, that's okay. And for the next minute, I'm going to ask you to stare into this person's eyes, okay, while the DJ plays us some lovely eye-gazing music. So if you're going to play this game with me, rebels, come on, let's get up and let's find someone, and then the DJ is going to put the music on in a minute. For the next minute, we're going to stare into each other's eyes.
See the doorway, the 1,000 churches, resolution of all the researches.
Hello. Brilliant. Okay, let's come back into the room. Thank you to those of you who played that game with me. How did it feel? Intense? Awkward? Anyone have a good experience? Yeah, how did you feel in the beautiful top? Nice? Good. Amazing. Eye contact. Connection. It's said in business that we should be making eye contact 30 to 60% of the time, less so when we are speaking, and more so when we are listening. It's a powerful place of connection. So as I said, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories. So let me take you back to March the 23rd, 2020. Do you remember what you were doing? What were you thinking? Don't remember? Do you remember what March the 23rd, 2020 was? It was the day that we went into the UK national lockdown. Now, as I said, my main business is in staffing in the nightlife, hospitality and event space. No matter how innovative my incredible team were, there wasn't a lot that we could do with that business, right? We started a couple of other businesses in sustainability and some new projects, and we made good use of the time. But that's not my point. I want to tell you a story about a dear friend of mine. Now, we started our business together at the same time. We went to the same university. He had co-living and co-working spaces all across the world, actually, in the USA, in Germany, and in the UK. Super successful. He had investment into his business. He was born into great wealth, and he had loads of stakeholders and shareholders who got in and went in, and he blew up. It was amazing to watch his journey. And in lockdown, we started to hang out legally, I promise. Okay, we did break the rules a few times, but we started to hang out and compare the places that we were at in business at that point in time. Now, we were forever the optimists, right? Some entrepreneurs would say we have to be if we're going to create stuff, right? It's a good energy to have. So we thought, oh, we'll be open in a month. We'll be open in a few more months. You know, let's just ride it out a little bit. And as time ticked on, we realized that that wasn't so. Now, in lockdown, his first decision that he had to do was to let 400 employees go. 400 livelihoods, 400 families, 400 people that were relying on his organisation. What would you have done? How would you have had those conversations? It was hard to watch him go through that. But the reason why I tell this story is because the part that sticks in my heart even to this day was when he told me, when he realised after all the financial solutions that he'd been working on behind the scenes, there was absolutely no way that his company was going to survive. And he knew that he was going to have to enter the room with every stakeholder, shareholder, team member and person connected to that company and let them know that it was over. He explained to me that he entered that room, and as he looked around that room and around the people that were on Zoom and locked eyes with the people in that room, he realised he could trust no one. In fact, he realised that the very people that he'd been building business with were plotting and scheming behind his back to defame him and save their families and not him. Not only had he lost his company, but for the 12 years of his life that he dedicated his life to, he had no people beside him at the end of it. Now, a different journey I experienced in this time of lockdown, I had people leaning in. I had some of the shop contractors that had been out on the floor. We trained them up Wolf of Wall Street style on the phone to get on the phone to clients and start pitching business, because our clients don't use LinkedIn. The club managers don't really go on LinkedIn. So they were on the phone. We trained them how to do it, and they were bringing in the sales. Everyone was poised, ready to go. We got on the phone to our clients week after week, time after time, to find out how they were. How were they feeling? What was their experience in lockdown? And they were leaning in, working out plans with us, ready to go for the minute we were able to reopen. I had people poised, ready to leave full-time jobs, to come and work for us part-time with no security. Because remember, we didn't know if the industry was even going to be legal again, or everything that was going around in lockdown. What had we done differently in our 12 years prior to that? Where had our value system lay? Last year, my company, that particular company, had the best year to date financially. We have a team bigger than ever. Connection. So, where are my slides? They've gone. How do we get? There we go. Let's go back. So again, I'm not going to ask you to write down everything I say. As you can tell, I talk a lot. But I'm going to ask you to write these 3 points down today, because these are 3 points that we're going to explore in terms of connection. Connection to yourself. How do you connect to yourself? Connection to your people, your clients, your team members. And connection to the world around you. So let's go to connection to yourself, point number 1. Okay, in case of a state of emergency, please put your own oxygen mask on before attending to those around you. Would you agree that life is full of emergencies? Yeah? Whether perceived, they're just perceived emergencies in our frame, or arguably real as defined by the structures of the society around us, emergency situations are going to happen. How do you look after yourself? What do you do in a state of an emergency, and what is your go-to? So I'll tell you now a story. I'll take you back to 6 years ago. I was at a very different stage of my business journey. I was very in the business. How many of you are in your business? You're like, you really have to, yeah. Absolutely. And it was coming up to a busy Christmas time. Christmas is really busy in the events world, right? So I was faced with a situation. We had one manager who was leaving to go and have a baby. We obviously know about that. Had another manager who, she just wasn't quite right for the role. So we decided it was a good time for her to leave and exit. Now, would you, if you were me, have taken on 2 new managers, gone through the process of employing 2 new managers and trained them up in a busy Christmas time? Or would you have just said, do you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to go through it? How many of you have done the first? Put your hand up. How many of you have done the second? Yeah, great, that's what I did. I was like, you know what, we're just going to get through this. And we did, and I'll tell you now, every single day that I woke up in that period, I burst into tears because I actually had to live. I can tell you now, from the second I woke up to the second I went to sleep in this period, I was attached to my phone. Every meal that I had, I was still working. Every gym set I was in between, I was working. I could not switch off at all. And I remember being at a small little Christmas gathering with some of my friends, and they took me upstairs and they said, "Babe, you've been on your phone all night." I said, "I know." And I burst into tears. And they said, "Look, right, can we just tune into you for 1 minute, Sarah? Tell me, who are you and what do you like doing?" Simple questions, right? I'll tell you now, I couldn't even answer those questions. I was at a complete place of breakdown and overwhelm. Let's put our hands up, let's be honest for a minute. If we're going to be real, let's be real. How many of you have ever felt overwhelmed in your business and like you're close to breakdown? Yeah. What do you do in that situation? How do you come up for more air? How do you put your own oxygen mask on? How do you take care of you? I love what Kirk shared yesterday about actually being in that top form, in that top optimal shape, so that because we have a responsibility to those that we serve, to everything that we do, but how are we really looking after ourselves? And you know what? Sometimes it doesn't show till we're in that state of emergency, and then you kind of realise it's a little bit too late. So what I did in that time was I got through this busy Christmas period, and in that January of the next year, I decided I was never going to be in that situation again. How many of you have ever made a definite decision? Yeah, where you're like, that I'm making that decision. We need to make definite decisions, we really do. And sometimes we need to make them super quickly and take action on them. I mean, always, I think, quickly and take action when we trust ourselves. So I decided in that year that I was going to work with a leadership transformation. She calls herself a coach, but really it was more like a consultant. And she really got into the depths of my business with me. She helped me to come out and actually start breathing more air, to work on me. I've done years of personal development. How many of you have been in the personal development world for years? You've read so many books, gone to so many conferences, workshops. Yeah, great. Love it. But what happened in this time was that I decided that I was going to get someone who was actually going to get in the mess with me and work alongside me. And it was truly transformational. We built an amazing business structure, hired some kick-ass people, got a team that were actually accountable. I built a culture that I was proud of. We were going to stand by. We had values and mission. And it stayed. And this is partly why I love working with clients today. I work with actually a lot of female business leaders. It's kind of what's come forward. I love working with women. And this is partly what I do. I get in the mess of their organizations and I say, come on, let's actually make the magic happen now. And one of my amazing clients, I think about, she came to me about 3 years ago. And you know what her biggest challenge was? She was building this business with her husband. They were having so many arguments, so many relational challenges, and that was just spilling into their work environment. How many of you ever had that with a relationship? It does, doesn't it? And honestly, it was affecting her team, it was affecting her culture, it was affecting the whole way that she operates. Now, through the work we've done together, in her 3rd year of business, she's now turning over 7 figures. Her culture is not 100% perfect by any means. She actually had a contractor that she trained up, still one of her largest clients, just a few weeks ago, and we had to work through that problem together. But you know what? This is the real stuff, isn't it? This is what really takes place in business. So I encourage you, if you haven't ever thought about working with someone one-to-one, maybe that's something that you want to do. Actually get knowledge and get this wisdom that we're taking and apply it in a strategic way, because otherwise we can get into overload and overwhelm. Find a way, whatever way it is, to connect to yourself. Let you be a priority. Okay. So let's go to connection point number 2. Connect to your people. So for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do us part. Sarah, when I said those vows, I meant them. This is my mum and my dad and my sister and her husband. My mum's words echo in my ears from 20 years ago. When I was 14, my father had an operation that went wrong. It was supposed to be a routine operation, removing a mass from the back of his chest. Unfortunately, they damaged his spine. In the process of giving him that operation, he is now paralyzed from the waist down. He struggled with PTSD and tons of mental health challenges, and he has never fully recovered. I tell you that story today to not ask for your pity or your sympathy, because actually going through that has been some of the most life-changing and incredibly defining times of my life. My mum is a freaking powerhouse of a woman, I tell you. She became our everything. And you know what? We're all going to go through challenges in our life. I'm sure if I spoke to every single one of you and asked you, have you gone through a hard time? You could tell me. I tell you this story because I ask you, what do you learn from my mother's life? Overnight, my mother became my dad's caregiver, our breadwinner, our everything. She's a teacher. My dad was a church pastor, by the way. What would it look like if we took the values of my mother's life and lives like this and started building them into our organizations, into our way of thinking? Commitment, dedication, devotion, until death do us part. Do we see that anymore in a world of click, left, swipe, right? The world is our oyster. Every opportunity is abundant to us. And yes, that is true. But what would it look like if we took this mindset and approach to life and started weaving it into our lives, into our businesses, into our organizations? How would they look? How would they feel? I'm going to tell you another story. How many of you have been to Ibiza? Woo! How many of you love Ibiza? Yes, okay. So I went 20 times to Ibiza before I decided last year to live there. Now, I tell you, going the 20 times was really great. Living there, I didn't really like it. It wasn't fun. But I did it. And I was there in March. And I had a call from my sister in March. She gave me a video call. She's the one that's there. She never video calls me. So I was like, gosh, this is exciting. Picked up the phone and she said to me, guess what? I said, what? She said, we're pregnant. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Her and my brother-in-law have been together for 13 years. Married at that time for 6 or 7. I was elated. I was planning how I was going to take this newborn into all the clubs of Ibiza and somehow get away with it when he's a police officer and she's a teacher. I am the fun aunt, okay? And then about 3 months later, I was in Barcelona on a weekend away, and I got another call. And my sister said to me, Sarah, we've got not such good news. And I said, gosh, okay. She said, that lump that we found in my left breast, it's actually cancerous. Stage 3 breast cancer. They started her on treatment quickly, and she gave birth to my nephew in September. It was actually his birthday at the weekend. He's 1 year old, and he is super, super healthy and incredible, and we love him, and he brings us so much joy. And they sped up on treatment after she'd given birth. And then in December, I was actually going to one of my friend's gigs. Have you ever been to the Ned in London? Yeah, it's a beautiful venue. Highly recommend it. And I was going there for a friend's gig. And I got out at Bank Station, and I stood there, and it was a busy, bustling Christmas scene. And I got a call from my brother-in-law, and he said to me, Sarah, I'm so sorry. We've not got such good news. The cancer has spread to Hannah's brain lining. Do you ever have those moments in life where you don't know what comes over you? You don't know if it's a force within you or a force outside of you, but it forces you in a way that you don't quite know where you go. And I dropped to the floor. And I watched the arms of people around me in Bank Station pick me up and take me inside to my dear friends that night. And the next few months were torture. I watched my sister go through round and round of radio and chemotherapy. And in April of this year, my sister, 31 years old, super healthy, passed away, leaving my 9-month-old nephew. Why do I tell you the story? I'm not looking for sympathy, and I'm not looking for pity, but I'm telling you, 1 year it's going to be your worst year. One year it's going to be one of your team members' worst years, one of your clients' worst years. One year they may face a reality like this. You know what, this year I've learned who my people are. The people that have stood by me and gathered around me when I couldn't put my oxygen mask on, when I couldn't come up for air, were actually the people that I've done business with for years. The team that I've built. My clients, my partners, and some incredible people that I've met over my years in business. Connect to your people. There was an exercise that about a year ago, a mentor of mine had me do. We had a whole day together, and he is out of this world, I tell you. He's wonderful. I'd encourage you to write this down. He said to me, Sarah, do you know who your tribe are? He asked me this. I said, of course I do, And he said, why don't you take a moment to write down 10 to 20 people that you would call your people and have an intentional call with them. Let them know that you're all in for them and ask them if they are all in for you. Let them know that you're going to journey with them, ride or die, good or bad. And I did this. And it was these people, some of them that were those that were gathered around me in this time. We can be intentional about the connections that we make. So let me ask you right now, let's have a show of hands in the room. How many of you have your first client? Raise your hands. Amazing. If you've had that client, we're going to keep our hands up if you had that client for 2 years. Awesome. If we've had that client for 5 years. Amazing. If we've had that same client for 10 years. Awesome. 15 years or more. Amazing. Let's give, is it anyone else? Give you a round of applause. That is epic. Love that. Let's do the same with our team members. Who's got a team member or a freelancer? Because I know that the way we structure our businesses now can be different. Who's got their first team member or freelancer? Amazing. Who's had that team member or freelancer for 2 years? 5 years? 10 years? 15 years or more? Amazing. Let's get that round of applause. Epic. So in Phoenix Staffing, we still have our first team member and our first cohort of contractors 14 years in. Now, how do we do that? I'll tell you now, if there's one thing I've learned by working with thousands of people over my business life, it's that people are not simple. People are not linear. And it's about going on a journey with people. If we're truly not going to treat people like a number, how can we relate to our team and a client in a way that takes into account the intricacies that may change for them? So if we take this client that I'm thinking of, right? This particular client makes us about 30 grand a year, okay? And that's ebbed and flowed over the years. Bearing in mind we have hundreds of clients that we journey with on a day-to-day basis, right? If I took this particular client and I expressed you a bit of their journey, they have decided to use someone else. Has anyone ever had someone go, do you know what, I want to try someone else out in business? See what else is on the market. We've had that happen over the years. We've had them change their mind and try and do it themselves. We've had the ebbs and flows of their life happen. I've been at their father's funeral. Same with our contractors. We've had contractors that have decided to change locations, have children, stop working for a while, but we've journeyed alongside people. So my question to you in the business model that you have, whatever it might be, is how can you journey with your people? Rather than constantly thinking about the next person that you need to get, the next chase you need to make, how can you deepen the relationship that you have with that person? What does that take? What questions do you need to ask? Statistics say that on average, it costs businesses about 30 grand to replace a new team member, and it costs them about 6 times more to get a new client than it does to develop the ones that they already have. Who wants to be spending more money on getting more people rather than developing the ones that you already have? So last point, connection to the world. I believe that no person is an island, no business is an island. And whilst when I first started entrepreneurship, I went in and I was like, you know what? I'm going to create a life of freedom and I'm going to be completely free. The more I journey into entrepreneurship, the bigger I realize it's a we, not a me. The bigger I want to connect to other people, I want to connect to the world deeper. And when I think like that, it deepens the organisation and the thing that we do and the thing that we create. It expands my vision. If we're focused on ourselves and our lives alone, I question if we truly are the visionaries that we should be in business. So let me take you back to a year ago, because I love taking people back today. And I was in my sister and brother-in-law's living room, and I was meeting my nephew for the first time. I remember taking this little body in my arms and holding him to my chest. And I burst into tears. This was before my sister's journey had deteriorated, and we were very hopeful, and she was very responsive to treatment. But I had this strong inner sense that I was going to be a massive part of shaping this young man's life. I decided to move in that instant back from Ibiza. And I don't know if you ever had this experience, but holding this little boy changed my whole world. It makes me think differently. So, Inner Rebels, I have one more exercise that I want you to do with me right now. I'm going to ask you, if you will, if you want to participate, to close your eyes. So for those of you who are with me, let's close our eyes. And I'm going to ask you to picture a child. Maybe it's your child. Maybe it's a child in your family. Maybe it's someone close to you. And perhaps it's a fictitious child. But as you picture this child in your mind and take this child into your heart, I want you to think about the world that you want to see for this child. What are the things that are so important that this child knows? And what's taking place in the world today that you wish this child never had to see? Okay, so I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. And if you want to write down anything that came to your mind and your awareness in that time, please do. I was always taught in business, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And I believe that as businesses, we can truly make a difference to change maybe some of the world challenges or problems that came to your mind and your eye. Now you might say, shut, right? Yeah, that's kind of what we do in some of my business. And you know what else we do? We get around tables with my team and we say, right, what's going on in the world that we think is just so fucked up right now? And what are we going to do about it? And so you know what we've done over the years? We've created partnerships with a human trafficking organisation called A21. We've partnered up with our local food bank, where a bunch of us go in once every month or so, and we also donate. We've partnered with multiple organisations that exist to create a safer nightlife environment, because that is hugely important to what we do, that none of our staff have to face sexual harassment or abuse, and we have made headway, and we have voice and presence in that. I've tied other businesses into this, so when I launched my podcast, I started interviewing the people that we were connected with. We started building these strategic partnerships out to give voice. We're strategic in what we do because we do believe that we can change the world, and we don't just want to live just for us and our lifestyle. And there's no criticism today if that is what you want. I'm just maybe suggesting that we can think something different. Whether we think we can or we think we can't, we're right. So, our 3 points of connection. Connect to, what's number 1? Yourself. What's number 2? Come on, we're reading the slides, we're good. Connect to your people. And the last one. Okay, so I invite you now, if you want, to just take a moment to write down 1 point on each of those that you are going to commit to take action on for yourself, for your people, and for the world around you after today. So we'll just take a minute to do that. Amazing. Okay. And you know what? It wouldn't be about connection if I didn't want to stay connected to you, would it? So I'm going to keep it super simple. My Instagram tag's been on there, sarah.moxom. And I want to set us a little bit of homework, because we all have a bit of homework, don't we? No, but I'm going to do this too after today. And I invite you, if you want to connect with me, why don't you drop me a DM after you've done this exercise, which is to select 3 people in your world, preferably your business world, and make an effort to truly connect with them. Let's go beyond the surface level conversations that we have every day, and let's understand what's truly going on in that person's world and see how we can connect there. And you know what I believe and what I've seen? Magic. Let's say the word magic on this stage, yes. Good stuff, good shit. Magic happens there. Business relationships form. Partnerships that will last a lifetime. And from there, may we build business. So that's my challenge to you today. Thank you very much.